So we head now to Big Sky Country, Montana. A woman recently won a $37,000 verdict in a case of, well, hang on to your hats, doggy discrimination. A federal jury found the woman's landlord discriminated against her for having a service dog. Shannon Walker is here. She runs Northwest Battle Buddies. It's a nonprofit that helps veterans with PTSD. They match them up with specially trained service dogs. Shannon, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me on your show.
Are service dogs are relatively new things that maybe companies or landlords are not aware of the legal ramifications in all of this?
Absolutely. I mean, service dogs for mobility impairment or the deaf or the blind, that's been around a long time. And to us, that is what service dogs, technically would be used for. That's what the public is used to. But the fact is that now that we have seizure detection dogs, we have dogs for PTSD, multiple things where the disability is not necessarily obvious, then not to mention the fake service dogs that are out there abusing the system, it's hard for the public if they aren't understanding where their rights are, but also what the laws are and the protections set forth by the American Disabilities Act for the disabled. If they're not aware of all that, it's hard for people to navigate what's right, what's wrong, what's fake, what's not. But, and they don't want to open themselves up to, the businesses don't want to open themselves up to discrimination. But it's kind of funny because in the case where this woman in Montana was clearly being discriminated against, and it's not just that the dog was being discriminated against, she was being discriminated against because that dog was a piece of medical equipment to her because he performed tasks for her that were vital for her independence. And so, it's a lot for the community to absorb and to learn about. So, we try to educate as much as we can. You
said there are people out there with fraudulent service dogs? Are promoting fraudulent service dogs?
They're not promoting fraudulent. Yeah, they are. They are fraudulent service dogs. People, civilians or just people in general have started to find, if they can just buy a vest off the computer or get a card saying my dog is a service dog, and then they can skirt around, situations where, even in an apartment where maybe you can't have a dog or you have to pay more for a dog. If you have a service dog, you don't have to pay extra because that's the law set forth by the ADA to protect you from that. But people are finding ways, whether it's on airplanes or whatever it is, to get away from pet fees, and they say that their dog is a service dog. They throw a vest on and they just go out and say it's a service dog. And there's not a time that I go out with our veterans or in training that I don't encounter fake service dogs.
How do you know they're fake?
Well, because if they're lunging on the end of the line and they're barking at my dog, or they're eating off the table in a restaurant, or any unruly behavior is an obvious red flag that they are fake. And if the business owners would learn the law in the fact that any dog, whether it's a legit service dog or not, if that dog is unruly and a disruption in public, they can excuse that dog from their business.
Yeah.
And if businesses would do that, it would really cut down and hinder people who are so bold out there just being fraudulent, saying, my dog is a service dog, because basically they're abusing the American Disabilities Act. And
Shannon, for a company, it just seems like it's a no-win situation. If somebody brings a dog in that's obviously not a service dog, the bad publicity you're going to get from trying to stop this because, it'll be, this poor victim of this evil company. I mean, that's the whole thing. There's no point in even trying to stop it. There's nothing to be gained.
No, I totally agree with that. It's difficult, for them, and it's also difficult for us because what happens, we provide service dogs to combat veterans who have PTSD at no charge to the veteran.
Right.
And the 45 men and women that we have helped in the last 5 years where we've provided these highly trained, professionally trained service dogs, when somebody goes out there with a fake service dog and puts a bad taste in the public's mouth, it makes it hard for people who truly do need access and need to just be able to go through their life because they're trying to heal from the inside out. They're trying to get onto a life of freedom and independence. And it is a no-win. And that's one of the reasons why when we're out with our dogs, we do our best to educate the business owners or the companies or even point out fraudulent service dogs to the manager and then let them do with what they will.
Shannon Walker, you'll find her at northwestbattlebuddies.org. Check them out. Shannon, thank you for coming on Trending Today USA.